watching Nick go up there and all that run, and they call your name. What were your thoughts at that point?
It was honestly surreal, especially actually personally the timing of it was a miracle to me. I hadn't been, kind of getting the reps I'd been hoping to get at the time leading up to that day, so I had come to practice that day kind of just a little upset and just pretty fired up to go out and practice, and then to have my name called at that time was just so humbling that maybe even though the reps that I was hoping for hadn't been coming at that time, that all that I had been doing hadn't gone unnoticed. So it was really special to hear my name get called at that. And I mean, anyone who's seen the video saw how I felt after receiving the tuition, and seeing all my other guys too that have been going through it with me, for some for years and others for a shorter time, but to see them all stand up and all of us get the same reward was really special.
Would you describe your personal situation? You're married, it looks like.
I am, yeah. So
just tell us that.
Yeah, so I'm married to Brooke. We went to high school together and stayed in contact through our missions, and dated and got married about a year after I returned home from my mission. And then about a year after that, we had our son, Drew, and Drew just turned 1 actually the day before, or 2 days before yesterday, before that big announcement. So.
We saw A-Rod single out your name. Did he know what was going to happen in that meeting, or was that kind of he was caught off guard as well and just picked you, or did he tell you how that white singled that?
No, I didn't. I thanked him privately later, but he didn't explain whether he had time to think about it or not. Either way, though, it was really meaningful. Whether he had time to think about it, then that means he had thought of me, or even if it was on the spot that I was the first person that came to mind, was just really special, and I'm grateful to Coach Rod for thinking of me at that time.
You were a talented quarterback in high school. What brought you to BYU as a walk-on?
Well, I grew up, watching BYU and always wanting to. That's always been what I've wanted, is to come here and be able to do whatever it takes to help the team win, give whatever I can, and so it didn't end up being at the quarterback position, but I'm happy to do whatever my role is, as long as I'm able to help the team win games. So
have you had to have a job during the off season? Have you taken out loans? And sorry to get too personal.
No.
Are you in debt because you've taken out loans, and like the typical college student?
No, that's a good question. So debt-wise, no, which has been a big blessing. But I have had to work, and my wife has also had to work. So between the two of us, we've been able to stay out of debt, which is big. But this is huge now. Like when I first called my wife right after the meeting and told her like she doesn't have to go back to work this fall. She can stay home and be with Drew, and we can focus more on what we love, and that's our family and what we have here with BYU football. So.
We heard last year Ed Lamb singled you out as one of the MVPs of Cam. I think he's a special teams MVP. So you've been working hard, as A-Rod mentioned. What does this do, I think, for you now on the field to eliminate the distraction of tuition? What do you feel like it can do for you as a football player?
Definitely. I think especially in the off season, it'll be huge to be able to just invest more time into, building my skills, my technique on the field, and just putting more time into it, so that I'm able to compete at an even higher level and have a better shot. Like just an opportunity to compete, whether it's on special teams or on offense, whatever it may be. But it just gives you so much more time to be able to put into that.
What are some of the jobs you've done and your wife has done?
Good question. So, no, it's good. So I have worked for a real estate development firm. I'm in the finance program, so I've been kind of exploring some internships and careers there. So I was with a real estate and development firm called Rockworth. They're up in Holiday. And then I've also recently worked for a company called Central Trade and Transfer. They're just off the Pleasant Grove exit. And my wife, she teaches swim lessons during the summer out of her parents' pool, which has been a good gig for her. And then during the year, she's worked at a interior design store called the Gatehouse. So that's kind of all over the place a little bit, but just kind of did whatever we had to do to make it work.
So this opportunity, I mean, you touched on it a little bit, but it's not just a big deal for you, but it's big for your wife too. Like being able to kind of let her work a little less, stay home with your baby and whatnot. Is that almost in some ways like an extra layer of kind of what this scholarship, quote unquote, NIL scholarship,
right,
I guess we'll call it, kind of means?
Definitely, yeah. Like that. Honestly, like for me, I'm happy to, do whatever. Just put in the time at work so I can pay for it because I love being here. For her, it's a little harder because she doesn't get to see the rewards of being here at practice every day and what that development looks like and feels like. So that was honestly my first thought, wasn't like, yes. Like for me, it was more like, oh, thank heavens my wife is going to be so happy. Like she doesn't have to stress as much about the financial side. So
what was that moment like when you called her or saw her in person? How the moment you told her that you got this deal?
Yeah, it was special. We didn't have a ton of time because right after the meeting we had to get dressed for practice, but I just gave her a call and said, you won't believe this, but I just got paid enough for tuition, and so did all the rest of the walk-ons. And she paused. I couldn't hear anything on the phone for a few seconds, and I could hear the tears in her eyes, just saying she was so happy and so proud of me and grateful that all of this has kind of shown it a reward now.
When the NIL era kicked into effect back on July 1, did you ever think as a walk-on receiver here at BYU that you would benefit from this?
Yeah, that's a good question. I personally am not a super high-profile guy, so I didn't feel like it would be a huge difference to me. Maybe like going home to the Lone Peak area and running a camp or something. But outside of that, I didn't really feel like it would have a huge effect on me. But Kalani, shortly after that announcement, brought us all together as a team and said that, as a team, we have a brand too, and that brand is far more valuable than us as individuals. And he kind of made a promise that he was going to take care of all of us, but he specifically singled out walk-ons and he said, we're going to take care of you guys. And so I've tried to keep doing the same thing I've been doing, putting in the time on and off the field, and just trusting that Kalani would come through on that, and he delivered in every way. And I'm really grateful to him as well for the part he played in setting up this NIL deal with Built Bar.
Do you feel like this can be a team bonding moment to translate into wins on Saturdays in the fall, because that's what you guys are working for? Do you feel like that can have an impact on games?
Definitely, yeah. It definitely could be a distraction, but I think with this team, with the right guys and the right mentality, we'll use it as fuel, as motivation to just perform better and have each other's backs even more. And that was honestly one of the more special things of yesterday. Was like hearing my name get called up was amazing, but as I mentioned, when I heard the rest of the team the rest of the walk-ons, when they all stood up, like that's when the emotions just got the best of me, and I just saw all my brothers, standing up and getting that happening. And then even more so when they announced that, and every scholarship guy, they didn't even know that they were going to get compensated yet. He hadn't even said that. But multiple scholarship guys came up to me yesterday and said, you know what, they could have not given us a dime, and I'd be just as happy for you guys as I am getting, that compensation. And so that, to me, that speaks to the character of this team, and just that this team isn't out here trying to get their own, that we're in this together. And I think this was a really unifying thing for everybody. So.
All right. What's your favorite flavor?
Favorite flavor? Well, we didn't get this one from here, but my wife got the cookie dough one from like a couple months ago. That one's really good. And then cookies and cream. Those two, yeah.
That's a popular one.
Yeah.
A lot of people